Hey guys, Jared here, and today we are going to be talking about another Disney classic, Tarzan, released in 1999. It is the 37th theatrically released Disney animated film and the end of the Renaissance era. It was directed by Chris Buck and Kevin Lima and is a film that I hold near and dear to my heart. This was yet another Disney film that I grew up watching and I exhausted my VHS tape. And so I've been considering for a while, how am I going to talk about this film to you guys, my audience, because there's so much nostalgia embedded for me in this film. It's how I feel personally. I could talk about the movie's themes and the animation and how it makes me feel overall. And I had this entire plan of going over the film's themes, but rewatching the movie and seeing just how much I adore this film, I just want to talk about the film as a whole and how it has impacted me. And we'll go into some of those themes overall. But this was a movie, as I said, I watched a ton as a kid. It was one of my absolute favorites, and a lot of that comes to one particular person, and it's the person that everybody talks about when they talk about this movie, and that of course is Phil Collins. Phil Collins is the soul of Tarzan, and I think why it has lasted so long within the public consciousness, why people love this soundtrack so much and love this movie, it is because Phil Collins created a sound that is wholly unique to a lot of other Disney films. This is not necessarily a musical. There are a few moments where there are people singing, but it is very much just Phil Collins filling us in on the emotions of the story, and that can work for some people and it may not work for others. I know in particular Doug Walker of Nostalgia Critic and Channel Awesome has criticized Phil Collins' music in this film as he's just kind of singing at you what you're supposed to feel. However, when watching the movie now, I really see what Phil Collins' role in this movie is. Yes, it is to sing to us about the story that we are watching, but it's about the things that Tarzan himself cannot say. It's about communication overall, because Tarzan is a man raised as an ape who learns the ape language and then later on in the film has to interact with people of his own kind that he has never seen before in his life, and he doesn't know exactly how to express those emotions to them. There is a language barrier, and Phil Collins is our entryway into Tarzan's psyche. We feel what he feels, and also they're thematically rich with a lot of the themes that are explored throughout the film, such as Son of Man, The Strangers Like Me. Those songs in particular really drive home the themes of the story and how Tarzan has to come to an understanding of who he is. And the song that bridges all of these connective storylines together and starts the film and bookends the film is Two Worlds. It is about one man that lives within the bounds of two worlds, the human world and the ape world. And I think they just did such a good job of exploring this theme with Phil Collins' emotional vocals and the lyrics that are embedded in my very soul. I remember watching the behind the scenes for the movie on the VHS back when they had special features after the movie. And I remember very vividly watching over and over the Strangers Like Me music video at the end of the film and just being in shock and awe at how emotionally resonant that was for me. And when I watch that scene in the movie now, I can't help but feel an immense emotion just fall over me in a way that I've never really experienced with many other Disney films or films in general. I'm sent right back to where I was as a kid. And so that's why this movie I'm going to have a lot of biases towards, because it sends me back to how I felt as a child watching these movies and falling in love with them. And I think that's why Tarzan sticks out to me as something extremely resonant. But it's not just that. It's not just the nostalgia, and it's not just the Phil Collins music, although that is part of it. I look at this film now and I see just the apex of animation in the 90s. This is the film that bookends the Disney Renaissance, and I think it's a very special film to do that. I think that the film takes all the lessons learned of how to produce incredible animation and engaging storytelling and ambition and blends it all together into a swan song of sorts for the studio during this era, because there were just knockout films left and right. This era was filled with so much ambition, and sometimes it paid off with films like The Lion King, which has become one of the highest grossing animated films of all time. And sometimes the ambition just didn't fully work out for them in the way they wanted to, such as with Pocahontas. But it's still the creativity and beauty of animation that made this era so special. And to have this film end that is really great. The cap system in particular that was first truly used with the Rescuers, that movie was absolutely beautiful. And this film is much the same. Caps is pushed to its very limit with some of the most breathtaking visuals for an animated film I have ever seen. The jungle surfing scenes through the trees are amazing. The blending of CGI elements and pure animation, the colors and how this movie pops right off the screen as you're watching it, it is a feast for the eyes. But also at the heart of the movie itself is a story of one man struggling with his own identity and trying to find acceptance. And we see that very clearly through Tarzan trying to impress his father figure, Kerchak, who sees him only as human. And we see how desperately he wants to be a part of this family because they're the only family that he has. I love the scene early on in the film where Tarzan starts throwing mud all over himself to mimic an ape in some way so that he doesn't see his bare pink skin underneath. And it's heartbreaking. And we see that he grows up struggling with that identity, trying to find acceptance by killing Sabor, who not only killed his family, which he is unaware of, but killed Kerchak's son. And I think that that moment in particular is where not only is he accepted by the group, but he is almost accepted by Kerchak, who is still so weary of him. And it's when the humans finally arrive and start doing terrible things and start trying to hunt these gorillas and just kind of disrupting the balance of the African wilderness that it's very clear to Kerchak that this is not going to work for him. And he kind of ousts him, thinks of him as lesser. And I think that it's perfect in that way that Tarzan eventually starts shifting towards being human. He sees Jane and sees that he is not the only one out here in this world. There are other people like him. I really love how this film uses hands in particular to symbolize the differences in people and also their similarities. Obviously, we look at apes and they are the closest that we have to being humans as well. And so seeing young Tarzan put his hand up to his mother and seeing the difference there, that when he finally sees Jane and their hands connect, it's a very therapeutic experience, I think, for Tarzan. It's a way of feeling his place in the world, and that is what the film is trying to convey in just a wonderful way. It is about acceptance, finding your place. Tarzan is the son of man, but he is also the son of apes. And the blending of those two worlds together, how can you have one without the other? He must choose. And in the end of the film, he decides to choose both. He chooses the love that he has found, and he chooses the family that he has had since the very beginning. This is a very mature film. It's not dark in the same way that, say, Hunchback of Notre Dame was, with its feelings of lust and power and religious zealotry. But this film deals with very common themes of family and feeling out of place, which I think in a way do connect to a lot of what is in other Disney films. And I feel as if the Tarzan story really serves well for a story told by the Disney company. I think it's just incredibly done and just powerfully done as well. I love this movie. Every time I watch it, I'm impressed by its visuals, its powerful storytelling, the music, and it's just a film that was such a big part of my childhood and shaped my childhood that it's hard to not look at it now with rose-tinted glasses. But even then, I look at this film and I see its brilliance. I see the powerful messages that it is trying to convey, and I think it conveys them very well. I also think that the ending of this film is a great swan song of an epic conclusion, not only to the film and its themes, but also to the Disney Renaissance as a whole. I think it bookends this era so incredibly well. This was such an amazing era that it is, without a doubt, the best Disney animation era that the studio has ever had, even more so than the Golden Age. This is incredible. It's incredible filmmaking, and it's powerfully told, and it shows the power of animation and how it can move you through so many different emotions: laughter, crying, happiness, any of that. It is here in Tarzan, and I'm excited to eventually move on to the post-Renaissance, which is kind of my favorite era of Disney, because much like with the Disney Renaissance, they were extremely ambitious, making some of the most insane films that they had ever tried to make before, and it didn't necessarily work out in their favor in terms of box office returns, but it is a fun era that I can't wait to explore with you guys. So overall, I'm going to, of course, give Tarzan a 10 out of 10. It's an absolute masterpiece in my eyes. It is the perfect Disney film. I adore this film so much. It has meant so much to me through all these years, and I'm glad that I finally got to share my thoughts with you guys. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, and as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and stay positive.